Greetings, dear ones. It's good to know that we're together as a community of practice in these days that call for ever deeper devotion, ever deeper faith as we meet the challenges that surround us. There is a tendency among folks who have enough to look for the hidden blessings in this moment. And there is also a response to that tendency, which is, what about those who don't have enough? What about those for whom this is a real crisis? The hungry, the homeless, folks who are so poor that there is no buffer between them and desperation. And we do what we can. We reach out as best we can. We're raising funds, we're reaching out. And there are some hidden blessings in this time. One of those blessings is a growing recognition that we are not in control, that there are forces larger than ourselves at work. Now, that sense of forces larger than ourselves at work can cause us to be very fearful. Or that sense can invite us into the spiritual learning that's called humility. That recognition, as Martin Buber taught us, that to be humble is to recognize that you are but a wave in an ocean. Deep, powerful, and completely dependent upon the tides. I have a poem I'd like to share. It's by Seamus Heaney, the great Irish Nobel laureate. And it's a beautiful poem that speaks to how we find humility when we are asked to care for others. It's called Saint Kevin and the Blackbird. And then there was Saint Kevin and the Blackbird. The saint is kneeling, arms stretched out wide, inside his cell. But the cell is narrow, so one turned up palm is out the window, stiff as a crossbeam, when a blackbird lands and lays in it and settles down to nest. Kevin feels the warm eggs, the soft, small breast, the tucked, neat head and claws, and finding himself linked into the network of eternal life, is moved to pity. Now he must hold his hand like a branch out in the sun and rain for weeks until the young are hatched and fledged and flown. And since the whole thing's imagined anyhow, imagine being Kevin. Which is he? Self-forgetful or in agony all the time? From the neck on down out through his hurting forearms, are his fingers sleeping? Does he still feel his knees? Or has the shut-eyed blank of underneath crept up through him? Is there distance in his head? Alone and mirrored clear in love's deep river, to labor and not to seek reward, he prays. A prayer his body makes entirely, for he has forgotten self, forgotten bird, and on the riverbank, forgotten the river's name. This poem takes me to a place I need to visit regularly. In the midst of this pandemic, I am alternately aware of the scope of the suffering and longing to be there for others, longing to hold my hand out that window until the birds are fledged and flown and we have moved on beyond the pandemic. And then at the same time, I find myself feeling like, how could this happen to us? How could this happen to me? And I become annoyed, and I become frustrated, and I ask myself, what did I do to deserve this? And the answer is, forget it. Remember the lessons of humility. Be self-forgetful now, even as you redouble your practice so as to be able to keep your balance in the midst of the fear. Friends, we are not in control. We never were. The only thing we can really control is our own reaction to the situation. And we do that in ever greater depth and in ever more useful ways as we deepen our practice together. Thank you.